So we'll review that because we recognize in California and Hawaii and other regions of the country that there are probably some gaps that we'd like to see filled. So we're hoping to see more repeaters come up eventually as well. So in this first hour section, we're just going to have Curt start off with a presentation, talk a little bit about the NorCal system, and we'll go from there, and then I'll swap over. We'll probably take a 5-minute break if needed. If we don't need that 5-minute break, we'll go right into the Q&A section, and we'll have a little panel up here with some of the people who are familiar with the operations of DMR, and we'll do a Q&A as well in the second half. Go ahead.
All right, so out of curiosity's sake, how many folks here are currently on DMR? How many are new? Don't have a clue? Me? I'm with you. That's why they put me up here. All right, so I want to talk to you a little bit. I'm not going to get into the technical aspects of DNR. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about NorCal DMR and what we've done to put our system on the air. And I drew small straw, small stick, and so Tim asked me to give the presentation today. And he said that Carter was really looking for a presentation on what NorCal DMR is. So what I did is I went out to the internet and I took a look at what people are saying about us, what we're saying about ourselves, and kind of came up with this. NorCal DMR is a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It's a network, it's a repeater, it's a C bridge, etc. And let me just walk you through what NorCal DMR is. And again, I'm not going to get into the technical aspects of this, but we are a network. At the core, we're a network. NorCal DMR is actually, at the center of our network is actually 2 C bridges. We use them for 2 different purposes. One is to put other repeaters, connect repeaters together and connect us to the broader world. Another repeater we use to put an audio feed up so people can see what DMR is all about before they go and invest in radios. We have 52 repeaters that are networked currently on the NorCal DMR system, and a lot of different things hanging off the edge of that network. So the C bridge, we started with a hardware C bridge, and up till July of this past year, that hardware C bridge was sitting in Tim's garage with business class internet service, but Tim went on vacation. And we started thinking to ourselves, well, there's a lot of people now. We have nearly 50 repeaters that were connected at the time, sitting against this network. We got to do something. And at the time, Rayfield Communications, who builds the C bridge, came out with a virtual C bridge, software-based C bridge, and we decided to go ahead and invest in one of those C bridges. We put it into a data center, and we get a lot of performance enhancements. A lot of folks, Dennis, I believe yours is now a virtual C bridge as well. So the speed in connecting these different back-end devices has really improved. We have 24/7 technical support, and it's a very, very robust system.
Everything's redundant. Hard drives are redundant, processors, power supplies, everything. So it can't break.
So
we hope.
I could break it, trust me. If there's a way to break something, I will find it, and I have people, thank God, around me. Now, we're a regional group of repeaters. We think of ourselves as the NorCal network, and the NorCal network itself, repeaters that sit on our C bridge, there's about 40, just shy of 40 repeaters that sit on our C bridge. But we think of the NorCal network as a little bit more expansive than that. Dennis has a C bridge, has a couple of machines here in California.
Oh, you're Paul. Nice to meet you.
Nice, yeah, exactly. Very nice to meet you. We have several C bridges that connect, and we consider them all part of the NorCal network. And in fact, it changes very quickly. I pulled this slide, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, and by Friday, these folks have seceded. They've moved off of our C bridge. The SoCal group is now on their own C bridge. So Our regional group of repeaters has grown a little bit smaller in the past week.
We have more room left for expansion.
Exactly. So when you talk about what does it take to put a repeater on the air, plenty of space for all. A lot of folks think of NorCal Network also as talk groups, the channels that you would access within the repeater. And this is our talk group pyramid, and it starts at very global. We have lots of global channels, and it moves up to the very local. And I'll talk a little bit about this because it changed yesterday as well. The world changes very quickly. But what we try to do, there's 2 time slots, and I'm not going to get into TDMA. I'll let other folks talk about that. We keep the more localized traffic on time slot 1, and the broader, more global traffic we keep on time slot 2. So this traffic doesn't necessarily interfere with this traffic. The other thing that NorCal DMR is a website. And it's something that I take care of for the NorCal system. And I apologize if you found errors on it, because it was my first experiment in trying to build a website. But we try to be a repository of information. We start at our front page. We try to keep up with current events. We try to put as much information as we can. And I put a lot of RSS feeds into the system. But I also put up the network, and this is probably one of the more popular pages. If you wanted to see if a repeater was in your area, you would come to this page, see our overall network. If you wanted to see where UHF repeaters are, you click on that tab, VHF repeaters, you click on that tab. And if you clicked on one of these pins, it would bring up all the information that you'd need to program that specific repeater, and also bring up RF maps, another very popular feature that we provide. You can actually see where RF coverage is. We have a very robust system. Greg N6LDJ takes care of that. And every repeater on our network, we provide RF maps for. There's another page if you just want to bypass that we put up tables to help you program your radio. This is really all the information that you would need in order to program your radio. And we, again, try to make it as simple as possible. We give you a table, but we also provide code plugs. So if you wanted to see what a proper programming looks like, we have a couple gentlemen. Curt, who's one of them, provides all the CSI code plugs and keeps them very up to date. Another gentleman, Alan, I just saw Alan walked in. He provides their Motorola code plugs. And if you're new to the system, you just wanted to download a code plug, you can come to our website, download it, and if there's anything wrong with them, they're the guys to blame, not the people. So, but we're very fortunate because the network changes constantly. And these 2 guys, I sit at the center being with the web, but these guys almost always bring up changes to my attention. So we're very fortunate to have them. They stay on top of that. And if you think about programming a DMR radio, it is a bit more complex. We have now 16 standard talk groups and 52 repeaters. So 52 times 16 is what you have to enter into your code plug in order to have the entire network, if that's what you're into, is having the entire network. It really is pretty simple. It is for guys like me. But we also consider NorCal DMR leaders. We were one of the first, we were actually the first to invest in the commercial C bridge. It was tested out on a couple amateur networks, but we were one of the first to buy, I think Dennis, another one, to buy a C bridge, and that was the hardware-based C bridge, and that was 4 years ago? 4 years ago?
March of 2010.
There you go. And then this past July, we were the first to deploy the virtual C bridge in the amateur world. Again, there were several beta versions, but we've always tried to experiment, and whenever we can be first to invest in something, we get Tim to open the wallet. So we're very fortunate to have that. We also work with others. Something else that we work with Rayfield Communications to come up with the last heard list, something that we provide off the website. So you could see who's on, when they were on, what their signal looks like. So again, that's something that you can get off the website, but something that we partnered actually with Rayfield. They're the folks, again, that make the C bridge, And they have been wonderful partners to the amateur community. Yes, Joe?
So the last heard is any station in the world on DMR?
That's on our sea bridge.
That would come into a port that we're networked to, which is effectively everything.
Pretty much.
Some of the Europe stuff doesn't get, their local stuff doesn't necessarily pipe to us. But any of the national or worldwide networks, we are tied into, so we get those feeds.
It's in the hierarchy, so you're not gonna see somebody in Tennessee talking to somebody in Tennessee, you don't see that.
Probably not, because we don't have that Tennessee talk.
Right.
But if they're talking, if someone in Tennessee is talking to someone in Tennessee on North America or Com 1 or worldwide, we would see that.
Yeah.
Everybody would see that.
Right. Yeah, again, it's not everything, but you know, you're not missing too many parties in the DMR world if you use one of the 16 talk groups that we provide. So most of the traffic you'd end up seeing, but a lot of the localized traffic you would. And there's various flavors, and there's other websites that provide these last tour reports, but most of what you want to get, you could probably find here. This morning, those of you that got up and got on the worldwide net, something else that we're very proud of, our own K6 SUU, Dick Decker. He runs the DMR Mark Worldwide Net, the largest net in the DMR world. It's every Saturday.
He's getting 100+ check-ins from the world. So what it does, it not only gives people an opportunity to key up once a week and talk to the world, but it also checks the integrity of the network. I think the stuff starts in Europe, and then it goes to Central Europe, and then South Africa, and then it starts to migrate west. And it's impressive where you see, you know, the people coming on, and it lasts about an hour, I guess, something like that. So it's very informative.
Yeah, it was one of these things that in the beginning stages of DMR, it was really the one place you'd go, you use your radio. There wasn't that many users around the world. And everybody get it up on Saturday morning. And then as more and more users came on board, I think a lot of us probably lost steam and checking in, and it went away for a few months. And we're real proud of Dick for picking up the ball on that one. We've also tried to author some things, not just technical papers, but we put up online the NorCal DMR Guide for Best Practices. What we try to do is make this a place for new folks, really, to come find a way to get the information they need to get online. So we provide the technical aspects, but also how do I actually use the system? Where can I have a longer rag chew? Where would I start? And so we've just tried to provide some material in addition to the technical aspects on kind of best practices. One of the things that has been a big hit for us was the Listen Now page. And how that started, Tim and Greg and I were talking one morning, and wouldn't it be nice if people could actually experience DMR before going out and investing in a radio? And let's put it up on the web. Let's put a feed up on the web so people can actually hear it and decide sooner rather than later, do I like it or do I not like it? And we had experience doing this with the K6MDD D-Star site, but we wanted to do it for DMR as well. And let me tell you, it was not nearly as easy as we thought it would be. We had to experiment with a bunch of different technology, because when we first put it up using the system that we had employed, Tim had employed, on the D-Star system, it just didn't sound right. It didn't sound good. And we thought we were really doing a disservice to DMR by not providing the quality. So after experimenting over and over again, and Tim investing lots of money in hardware, we finally ended up with the audio feed. And I would play it, but I don't think you're gonna hear it. And what I did here is I just took my iPhone, because that's all I had to record. And so it's not great quality to show you the meter. And let me also talk to you, before I do that, a little bit about the meter. There was another gentleman up in Washington, Mike Shirley, who had put up something to help with audio, disparate audio levels. And what he did is he took a camera, and you could actually see a VU meter and check how your audio was coming across.
You have the camera on a handheld.
And
poor internet connections.
and he lives in the boonies and poor internet connection, but you know, God bless him, he tried. And we thought, that's a really good idea, but wouldn't it be better if we could do it digitally? And so, again, sitting around talking one morning, let's see if we could actually build a meter, build an audio player that had a meter in it. And we looked around the internet, there just wasn't anything quite like it. We found a gentleman in Peru that volunteered to build this for us. Well, he didn't volunteer, we paid him to
It
build
was
it.
money out of Curt's pocket.
And he's a gentleman from Philadelphia living in Peru, a software developer, and he created this meter for us. And we went through a lot of iterations. We have a red area here. This shows you where your audio is. A yellow and another red area and a green. And we sat around, well, where should the red be? Where should the green be? And there was, we called Motorola, we called the manufacturers. There is no standard that they could provide to us as to where it should be. And so the key isn't where exactly on the meter you should be. It's what helps with audio is if we're just all consistent. If we're all consistent, we can move our volume level to a certain degree, and really, let's focus less on where the green is, even though we think we got it generally right, because we asked a lot of people in the DMR world, and a lot of people, you know, that we didn't even ask volunteered to tell us where the green area should be.
So, probably more of that than the all
Yeah.
letter.
And so, let me see if I can. Okay, now, again, I apologize for both the audio and the visual here, so. Yeah, we don't have a microphone. That was just a conversation I took the other day. John English talking about, hey, once people hear about the 700, they're going to come over in droves. And I just wanted you to see how the meter worked. Those that hadn't experienced it. DMR Mark also created a talk group, so you could go on 9999 audio test and experiment all you want, and there's a delay of about 20 seconds for those that haven't used it between the time you speak and the time that you hear your audio come out. So you could make a short transmission and then hear yourself. How does it sound? And then what does it look like on the audio meter? There's also audio, the Parrot talk channel that you can just hear yourself.
Which is an echo type of thing. You talk
Right.
into it, talk back.
Two different systems, both to solve DMR's probably greatest weakness, which is the disparate audio levels. Another thing that NorCal DMR is an incubator. A lot of folks come on to NorCal DMR and for one reason or another have decided to invest in their own Seabridge. Usually they get tired of dealing with Tim Barrett, so that's usual. That's the usual reason. But there are other valid reasons. It started. John Lester, K6CHG, started the Coastal Hills Radio Group up north on the coast, north of San Francisco. He was the first one to go off and do this, but we're still connected and share talk groups with John. Then our friends Baycom, they came on board for a short period of time, and they have 3 repeaters and maybe another one on the way. But that's a really interesting group. It's a group of folks from Silicon Valley, and they are real technical gurus, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do with their Seabridge. I've heard them talking about some things that they had been working on, and it's a real exciting group that we should all stay connected to and watch. And then, without a doubt, the most enthusiastic group that we have right now, and sorry for picking turquoise for them, but I only have so many choices on the web. CenCal DMR, used to be Southwest DMR, they changed their name to CenCal for Central California. N6IB, we've probably all heard Mark on the air. Is Mark in here right now? There he is. Outstanding, Mark. We're glad to have you. But he and his gang are always on the air, and a real enthusiastic group down in the Central Valley.
As users, it's all transparent to us as
Yeah.
to, we don't know or care, really.
No.
The only thing that's, I don't say it's critical, but the only thing that really is an issue is to make sure that the talk groups are aligned. It doesn't matter what Seabridge somebody comes in on. If they're on the same talk group that you are, you gotta talk to them. And it's, yeah.
And you know, and there are a lot of reasons why you'd want to invest in your own Sea Bridge. Perhaps you want different talk groups, you know, that maybe we don't provide, or you want to experiment technically with the Sea Bridge, the way the folks at Baycom are doing.
So it's the Sea Bridge that defines the number of talk groups then?
Well, actually, the standard, the radios do. Most of the radios are stuck with a scan limit of 15 or 16. So, you know, if you get too many more channels or talk groups,
I can't use it on the radio.
you know, I mean, where do you put them? I mean, that's, you know, still, you know, and then the Sea Bridge kind of adopts from that, so yeah.
Yeah, and I'll talk for a second, again, not about the technical aspects, about what we're seeing, because if there's ever an issue, it's talk groups. You should offer this talk group, or you should offer that talk group, and particularly on the NorCal system, you got to remember, if we were to add a talk group, it means you got to program in 52 different channels into your radio every time we add something like that. And you don't have to program that into your radio, but a lot of our folks like having everything in their radios,
Every radio.
and a zone is limited by the 15 or 16.
Well, it'd be nice if we could put all 52 in there, but that's a combination of VHF and UHF.
You buy 2 radios,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
or you wait for the dual band, which will be out in 12 years.
Yeah.
And then there'll be 140 talk groups.
You know, there's no right or wrong approach. It's preference, right? So other folks want to approach it differently. That's cool. There's no right or wrong way. But beyond just what you see on the map, you know, NorCal DMR has been, you know, instrumental in helping a lot of folks. Down in Texas, there's a group from Dallas that got their start with us. The Lone Star Net and West Texas DMR was hosted on the NorCal